rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Looks like we have invited or have been talking in the Rumble chat in a multilingual fashion, so here goes. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Mi bicicleta es muy grande. Uno cerveza, por favor. And a bunch of other words that are not all that great. Anyway, hello, everyone. Yes. It is Thursday. It is Thursday. Almost done with the week. Almost. Not quite, but almost. Anyway, let's go ahead and get some things kicked off here. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by none other than our own U.S. Abby Girl over on Rumble. So U.S. Abby Girl is on deck for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me, and place it over your heart. Place your hand over your heart and join in with U.S. Abby Girl in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And I thank you, U.S. Abby Girl, for submitting that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style and take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, attach it to an email address or attach it to an email and send that email off to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. All right, tonight's sponsor is, I wear their wonderful shirts all the time on the program. Well, I won't say every single time, but pretty close. They have some fantastic patriotic styles. You've got to head off to theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt, all one word, all lowercase letters, .com, and go and check, go and check out all of their patriotic styles for men, women, and children, not to mention all of the accessories, all decked out in the fantastic red, white, and blue. Don't forget, we have some patriotic days coming up. One in particular, of course, being the Independence Day holiday. So you might want to gear yourself up and get ready and prepared for it. So head on over to theflagshirt.com and check out all of their styles. Check out everything on their site and see if there's anything there that you might want to get. And if you order $75 or more of their product, you will get and receive free shipping. That's for ordering $75 or more of their product, you will receive free shipping. But I know not everybody wants to order $75 or more of a product. Maybe you only see one particular style of shirt that you like. You know, I'm personally partial to the men's cotton polo shirts, but that's just me. You may not be. And so what you may want to do is order only one shirt or something along those lines. Well, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help you out by, if you head off to flagshirt.americanperspective.com, or sorry, flagshirt.americanperspective.online. I got trapped up in my own thought process. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online and you'll be able to be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order. So head on over to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, get that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order. Once again, that is theflagshirt.com, where you can go and get yourself patriotized. All right. Where's that button? There it is. Oh, yeah. And thanks to, of course, Nana of JJS, always keeping me straight. She also pointed out there's Flag Day. And that's also known as President Trump's birthday coming up as well. So, you know, get patriotized. Get it. There. Head on over to the Flag Shirt and get patriotized. That's what we would love to do. All right. Have you noticed that the Dems seem to have a bit of a problem? Well, I mean, first of all, they all believe that they're smarter than the rest of us. They all believe that they are highly intelligent, highly educated, highly whatever. They obviously think they're better than anyone else because, you know, they are so highly educated, highly intelligent. I'm kind of being sarcastic here if you can't hear it in my voice. But they keep wanting to geniusing. They keep wanting to get in and geniusing. They are geniusing even more. What I'm talking about in terms of geniusing, first of all, I know that's not really a word, but then again, a Democrat probably doesn't know that because, you know, they are so highly educated. But the point that I'm making here is that they seem to know more than what we do. And like Ronald Reagan was very famous in saying, is that our liberal friends know so much that isn't so. And that's the problem, is that they know so much that isn't so. Well, one of the things that Democrats seem to also have a problem with is realizing when it's time to leave the stage. For an example, a perfect example is current governor and former VP candidate Tim Walz. He is still running around the country, which I'm trying to understand how he can be governor of a state and run around the country and do all these quote-unquote town halls. But anyway, these guys really don't get it. See, the deportation of illegal aliens is a 80-20 issue. And by that, I mean it's a very popular issue. There are so many polls have come out since Donald Trump has come back into office for his second term that has shown that Americans, they just want to get rid of the illegal aliens. How? Is this not a, an understanding by the Ms. T of Tex, I know. My governor is a moron as well. My new governor, my old governor was a moron, but then again, that's just the way it is out here on the leftist coast for whatever reason. But anyway, I got to get back to Tim Walz. Well, he was apparently at some sort of a, some sort of a town hall. And during his State of the State address, there it is, he tried to accuse President Donald Trump of tearing up the values that once made the United States the shining light of the world. He was basically attacking all of that. University students, anyway, he apparently had some young folks, or some folks, I don't know if they were young or not, but some folks, kind of sort of let him know that that's not a smart thing to necessarily be discussing. So let's take a quick listen to this.
Students being swept up shoved into unmarked vans, and fathers being tossed into Salvadorian gulags without a hint of due process.
Yeah. 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 Just, I mean, never mind the fact that this has been proven over and over and over again, folks. Proven over and over and over again that this guy, and he's, of course, referring to Abrego Garcia, that this guy was not and has not been just an innocent father who got swept up in Maryland, and that he was not a United States citizen, which is what they, of course, gloss over. And also the fact that he also stood in front of immigration judges, two, to be exact. He is potentially accused of, or at least suspected of not child trafficking, but human trafficking. He also was accused by his own wife of beating her up not once, but twice. He's got 2 incidences of that, at least. So, you know, again, they just want to keep going. I don't know where these genius level people come from. They're supposed to be, you know, super highly educated. Yeah, they're not taking the hint. They're not taking the reality. They are not realizing anything of all this. Yeah. But anyway, we are talking about Tampon Tim, you know, Tampon Tim Walls, who, basically is, yeah, anyway. He's still out there, by the way. And Kamala Harris poked her head up again today, for whatever reason. She's still trying to dip her toe into the pond, keep her toe into the pond. Well, there is one group of voters that the Democrats apparently have been, losing. And this is kind of refreshing, to be honest with you. And I'm, you know, happy to see this. I just hope that it holds all the way through 2026 into 2028, and then, of course, further into 2030 and 2032, all the way across the board. Because this is one voting block that the Democrats have counted on. And no, I'm not talking about illegals, although they're still trying to hang on to them. Obviously, that's why they're sitting here doing all of this work, trying to bring back Abrego Garcia and make it look like, you know, he's just this innocent Maryland father, U.S. citizen who got swept up in something. Yeah, no. Anyway, according to a new Harvard youth poll, things have gotten even worse for the Democrats. So apparently the young Americans aged 18 to 29, which have traditionally been a Democrat voting base, okay? And this was, by the way, this is a annual spring survey that was put together. It's the 50th Harvard Youth Poll, and it was put together, of course, by Harvard. But it was conducted between March 14th and the 25th and was released yesterday. Apparently, the approval rating for congressional Democrats stands at 23%. It's down, of course, from 42% in the spring of 2017, which was the start of Donald Trump's first term. So, meanwhile, at the same time, the approval, even for congressional Republicans and President Donald Trump, is now higher than that of Democrats with that exact same group. So it's, they're losing a very large voter base for themselves, which of course is the young vote. As I think I heard somebody say at one point, that if you are young and you vote Republican, being young, you have no heart. When you grow up a little further and you vote Democrat, you have no brain. Because of the reasons why, basically, the Democrats seem to want to pull on the heartstrings. Because, I mean, let's face it, anybody who doesn't know the facts of the particular case in terms of Abrego Garcia and they look at it at the headlines, and all the headlines say things like Maryland father detained, mistakenly detained illegally, all of these things that are designed to tug on the heartstrings. But yet, again, that is not the reality. And what's happening here, apparently, is that these young people are starting to realize that maybe the Democrats aren't who they said they were. So in that same period, the polls release notes as well that in that same period, approval of congressional Republicans has held steady and is inching up slightly from 28 to 29%. Now, I'll be honest with you, that's not a big inch. That's really not a big inch. But anyway. So, that is just basically not good for the Democrats, realistically. That's not good for the Democrats at all. And hopefully, and again, keep in mind that a lot of this, I think, has to do with not so much the illegal immigration, but definitely the economy is a big part of that. So hopefully, with everything that's been going on, the economy will make a bit of a turnaround. And I think that's part of the reason why the Dems messaging on the economy with the idea that the stock market, doing what it's doing isn't really resonating with voters right now, especially the young ones, because let's face it, how many young people do you know actually play within the stock market? I know I didn't. I had to wait until I actually had money in order to be able to start investing in my future. And so realistically, I think this is going to become more of a day-to-day thing. And as long as things like prices on articles and items that are important to day-to-day life, okay, you're going to start losing or keep losing these people if the Democrats keep saying that the economy is crap, but yet, the prices of food is coming down. Hopefully inflation keeps coming down. Prices. And by the way, too, just on an economic front, the housing market, sales of homes has actually shown that, or demonstrated that, while we're not in a super strong economy, it's certainly not necessarily a bad economy in that sense, because home sales have stayed relatively consistent. So, yeah, the Democrats just seem to be having all kinds of issues and problems. And the media definitely isn't helping them any. But one of the reasons why you might be seeing and hearing about people talking about, Abrego Garcia and everything else is the fact that the mainstream media, according to Newsbusters, has been focusing quite a bit on this whole idea of this Maryland man. Here you can see ABC, CBS, and NBC devoted 143 minutes to the, quote, Maryland man, and this is part of the reason why this is pretty much dominating the news cycle, is because of all this. But the reality of it is that the truth is coming out, and, obviously, based on that last poll, you'll see the truth is coming out. And I think the people involved are doing a pretty good job of getting things in front of the people that are out there. That, going on some of these shows like Tom Homan has been doing. I've got a video clip of him laying down some truth here in just a minute, but being that they are going on the weekend shows and all these other shows and basically slapping the hosts who are attempting to try and make this guy out to be some sort of saint, which he ain't, And then, of course, as you can see here in the title, they devoted 143 minutes to Marilyn Mann, but only 12 seconds to people that actually mean things, which is Rachel Morin. So, yeah, this is just, again, I think a misstep and a mistake for all of this. Well, as I said, Tom Homan has been getting out in front of people, and especially with regards to some more Democrats. Now, we all know about Van Hollen running off to El Salvador. Apparently, some other Democrats thought, hey, he had, well, what do they say? Any publicity is better than no publicity. Even bad publicity is better than no publicity. So anyway, a bunch of other Democrats just packed up and took off and went down to El Salvador, which of course everybody is aware of. But now, Chris Van Hollen is actually kind of stepping back a little bit from it, but that doesn't mean that that he's going to stop talking about all of this stuff. But, Tom Homan makes an appearance this time on Sean Hannity's show. And, let's just say that Tom kind of just, he's the bulldog and he just sort of lays it out on the line in front of everybody. Let's take a listen to what Tom Homan has to say to Sean Hannity about this.
Louisiana to appeal for the student. What message do you have for all of them?
Where were you when thousands of American parents buried their children? They got separated from children forever because they were buried because they were killed by illegal aliens that entered this country legally. That's preventable crimes. Where were you when the 600% increase in sex trafficking with the Biden administration? Where were you when 10.5 million people came to our borders illegally? Where were you when millions were released in the United States in defiance of federal law? The law says you come to this country, you come to our borders without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not released, shall be detained. Where were you when they released the millions of people in the United States? Where were you when a record number of people on terrorist watch lists crossed this border and were released in the United States with no vetting? Where were you when 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the border, open border, Biden administration? Where were you then? You were silent, which means you're complicit. You didn't say a word about the violation of laws that put America at great risk. Not just public safety, national security. So where were you then? It's pathetic and disgusting. They are elected by the people to represent the taxpayers of this country. When you don't care about your constituency, when you don't care about public safety and national security, you're an embarrassment to the position you hold. Where were you the last 4 years?
That's a great.
And I apologize for that, but it looks like the audio and the video are off kilter on that. I apologize, but that's okay. Anyway, the point got made. And as you can see, I mean, again, Tom Homan, the bulldog, he is taking care of it. He's bringing the truth, the light, and the honesty to everything. And he, of course, keeps going at it. Hey, let him show up on those. I mean, allow Tom Homan to talk. That's what you should do, because this guy is good at what he's doing. Well, it's not just Tom Homan. It's also, too, we're starting to get some people getting pushback. In particular, some of the more outspoken Democrat people who are on the mainstream media. And again, I showed you a clip of Jesse Waters not too long ago. I think it was either last episode or maybe the episode before. Well, Jesse Waters has also done another great clip. And Fox News host Jesse Waters directly challenged Democrat strategist and co-host Jessica Tarlov on Monday over her defense of this whole thing, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So the exchange took place during a segment of The Five on Fox News, and Waters Waters, of course, took issue with the Democrats' shifting stance on Abrego Garcia. Yeah. So here, let's just take a quick listen to that exchange right here.
Supporting people, just get it right.
You want everybody. You brought them all in, and now you want to do it one by one. There was a lot of mind reading in there. Nobody's freaking out about this except the Democrats.
That's not true.
In the last decade, we deported about 350,000 people a year. So if, Jesse, at that rate, it would take 28 years just to get the illegal immigrants that Biden let in.
Well, Jessica keeps on saying there's all these mistakes. First, she said this guy was picked up because he had a Bulls hat. And then he has tattoos on his hand that spell MS-13.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Read the symbolism, Jessica. What are you, a gang detective? Cut it out. And then he's wearing paraphernalia that says the slogan for MS-13. And then he gets caught up in a gang sweep with ranking members of MS-13 as part of a murder investigation. Then gets pulled over and he's suspected of human trafficking. Then gets accused of slugging his wife twice, and she has it on video. And suddenly his name isn't Maryland Dad, it's due process. Mm-hmm. You transitioned pretty quickly, Jessica. And to say this administration never admits a mistake, you guys never admitted you opened the border for 4 years.
Yes, we did.
Come on. You're saying this guy
that border was
you're saying this guy's afraid to go home? Because that's funny. In 2019, when he was popped, he said he wasn't afraid to go home, Jessica. Yeah. Funny that you're into due process now, after bringing us the Me Too movement, cancel culture, and the Trump trials. You can't break into the country and ignore the process of coming here and then want a process to leave. You cannot cut the line to come here and then ask to be put in a line to go home. If you guys are going to be the defense attorneys for every criminal gangbanger in America, after you've allowed the gangs to invade and now say all of them need lawyers, it's going to be an eternity, Jessica, to get these people out of here. Johnny went to Baltimore, and the people of Maryland are laughing at you. Blacks, Hispanics, whites, they think it's ridiculous what Van Hollen has done to be able to defend foreign rights instead of the rights of the American people. And the slippery slope argument. Is this the slipperiest slope you've ever seen? If they deport an MS-13 terrorist, you're next. Who? The Puerto Ricans? Anybody with a tan, Jessica? Are you next? No one believes that. This is the dictator hoax all over again. And you lost on that the last time.
Is that Johnny tonight?
Tonight. Tonight.
On Waters World. All right, up next.
You know, Jesse Waters, like I said, I don't watch him, but I do see clips of him. And yeah, he was right on all of this. He is right on all of this. And again, I just don't seem to understand where these people, and by these people, I mean Democrats, I don't understand why they are still trying to hang on to this. Hang on to this. I mean, it's almost as though this is their only life raft that they have at the moment. Well, let's face it, they really don't have much else to necessarily talk about because they can't necessarily be, I mean, this and tariffs, but the tariffs aren't turning out quite the way that they were expecting with regards to that. I've got some of that here in just a moment. But again, they moving on from that particular subject, they're back. Yes, another Democrat is geniusing again. But this time it's on the economy. It's on the economy and the principle of minimum wage. Yeah, they're talking about it again, or at least this particular lady is. Here it is, calling out for a $50 minimum wage. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, why stop at 50? Let's go to 100. Why stop at 100? Let's go to 1,000. Why not just get to the point and just give everybody $1 million a year? Why not? What does that do? Well, as I've told you on this program, all this does is increase the cost of goods. Oh, yeah. You recall, by the way, that Biden's chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, a guy by the name of Jared Bernstein, who literally couldn't explain where money came from. He really couldn't explain it. Anyway, and now you have Barbara Lee, who's retired from Congress as a very powerful congresswoman, but she ran and lost the race to replace Dianne Feinstein in the Senate, and so she has settled herself in as the mayor-elect of Oakland, California. Well, apparently she has some thoughts. Has some thoughts on the minimum wage. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this. Oh, sorry about that. Hold on.
$50 an hour federal minimum wage. That's 7 times the current national minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. Can you explain how that would be economically sustainable for small businesses? You have 60 seconds.
First, let me say I owned and ran a small business for 11 years. I created hundreds of jobs, benefits, retirement benefits, also health care benefits. I know what worker productivity means, and that means that you have to make sure that your employees are taken care of and have a living wage. In the Bay Area, I believe it was the United Way, came out with a report that very recently, $127,000 for a family of 4 is just barely enough to get by. Another survey very recently, $104,000 for a family of 1, barely enough to get by. Low income because of the affordability crisis. And so just do the math. Just do the math. Of course, we have national minimum wages that we need to raise to a living wage. You're talking about $20, $25, fine. But I have got to be focused on what California needs and what the affordability factor is when we calculate this wage.
Ms. Lee, thank you. Mr. Garvey, you've hour.
Yes. Of course. Let's go ahead and just raise the minimum wage. Let me explain something to this self-professed businesswoman who created like hundreds of jobs. Here's the thing, folks. Why do you think California has such a problem in terms of where they're at, where you need to have a 6-figure income in order to just barely make it? Okay. Why do you think that is? It's called all of your additional taxes and other costs that you've added on throughout the years through government. It's all of the additional monies that are required in order for you to be able to pay for the goods and services that you yourself need to pay for in order to live. I mean, let's face it here. You have $6, $7 gas down in California, all due. The vast majority of the money that's going there is not price gouging. It's not pricing. What it is the war on fossil fuels and all of the taxes that you are adding on for use of the roads and all these other things. I mean, trust me, I'm suffering from it here in the state of Washington as well. Folks, Econ 101. You have this thing. It's called COGS. Called the cost of goods and services. Do you honestly believe that these businesses, multiple businesses, just magically can pull an extra $25, $30 an hour out of their rear ends without passing it on to the prices and the consumers? No. This is part of the reason why we keep telling you it doesn't matter. Businesses don't actually pay the taxes. The businesses don't actually pay the tariffs. It's the consumers who do. And this is basic, again, going back. It's basic Econ 101. You raise the cost on a good or service, and that's exactly what this is by paying somebody a quote-unquote livable wage for a position that literally requires 0 skills whatsoever, which is exactly what minimum wage is supposed to be for. And you're going to sit here and tell me that that's not going to raise the cost of the good or the service, and that if you have the cost of the good or the service go up, that isn't going to impact the cost of living. These people seem to misunderstand, and I'm giving them even that much of a benefit of the doubt, which is incredibly magnanimous of me, by the way. But they actually believe that if they can raise the cost that goes into your pocket, that will just magically not change anything in terms of the cost of the goods and services. I don't even understand where, and she is a businesswoman, reportedly. I would be curious to find out whether or not her business actually made any money. Because that's the other thing, is that, again, and I've seen this a lot all over again on social media, talking about, the billionaires have to pay their fair share, without realizing the reality of that in terms of federal taxes, okay? Billionaires have to pay their fair share. And again, these math majors, they seem to think that just when you tax a billionaire his or her $1 billion, and you tax that, all of a sudden that's magically going to make our $36 trillion in debt disappear. Because again, these Democrats are literal geniuses. They're geniuses, folks. They're so smart, they're dumb. That's the only explanation for all of this. Because they don't seem to understand, again, that first of all, money doesn't just grow on trees. You can't just go and print money, because that's what inflation is when you have too many dollars chasing too few of goods. And that's what happens when the government starts up the printing presses. If they would actually learn and understand, they really need to pay attention to a couple people. I can think of two right off the top of my head. One is Milton Friedman. The other is Thomas Sowell. And if they could listen to those two, and they would hopefully learn something. But the thing is that there's so much genius in the Democrat Party that they won't even listen to them. They won't even pay attention to them. I mean, again, these are the geniuses who are doing the geniusing, who think that men can just all of a sudden and magically become a woman just because they think that way. And that they can actually give birth because they think that way. Or even better yet, that all of a sudden a human being can become a cat or a dog or a unicorn, for all of that. Well, what's really sad is not so much that these people exist, okay? But when they attain positions of power, such as Joe Biden, who in turn nominated a complete and stellar geniusing person to the Supreme Court. I have a clip here of Ketanji Brown Jackson, who unfortunately is a justice on the Supreme Court. On the other day, when they were talking about the whole LGBTQ ideology and the LGBTQ ideology being presented without the ability to opt out by the parents in a Maryland school district. Well, here's... Anyway, let's just go ahead and take a listen, and you'll see what I mean after you hear what she was saying.
But I need you to focus on my question. This is a preliminary injunction. I appreciate that. When you seek a preliminary injunction, you actually have to have a factual record that is the basis for the court to make a determination in your favor that some conduct that you're complaining about needs to be enjoined. And what's confusing to me and hard, really hard in this situation is that we have a lot of sincerely held beliefs and concerns and children and principles, and I see all of those things. And so really want to be careful about making the pronouncement that relates to this. I don't understand how we can do it on this record because we can't know. We don't at this moment, based on the record you've provided, know that these books aren't just sitting on the shelves. And you've said that if that's the case, that's not going to be enough.
I disagree, Your Honor. The record is undisputed. And I, again, will refer you to the district court transcript at 63, where counsel
So you're
said
saying
that
the Fourth Circuit is wrong when it says, quote, we don't have any information about how any teacher or school employee has actually used any of the books.
The Court of Appeals did not dispute that some of the books have to be used, and we have all of the
No, I
teachers'
understand that.
instruction that the board's not
I
disputed.
understand that, but the Fourth Circuit made a ruling that we don't know, quote, what any child has been taught in conjunction with their use. So are you saying that you do have affidavits and information about teachers in the classroom and what they've taught children of different ages about these books?
Yes, we do. All of our clients have, in their declarations, they describe which books are going to be read to their children.
Were the clients in the classroom?
They were not in the classroom, but they know. And again, we don't have to wait until the injury has happened to get relief. The point of a preliminary injunction is that we can, when the injury is imminent, we can seek relief.
All right,
to
let me
stop
ask
it from
you
happening
another.
before our children's innocence is destroyed.
Let me ask you another series of questions, because I'm just trying to understand the implications of the.
How can these people, I mean, I'm sorry, she made it onto the court because of one reason and one reason only, and honestly, if you're on the video side of the program, you'll see as to why. It's because she was a black woman, because a black something, because she has no idea what a woman is. She actually testified to that too, by the way. She said she wasn't a biologist. She stated in front of everybody, I have no idea what a woman is. I'm not a biologist. I mean, look, I've been in some of these elementary schools in some of these school districts. And I'm going to tell you right now, for an example, things like Ibram X. Kendi's book was prominently displayed in many classrooms that I visited. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't there when the kids were there. It was during, spring break or whatever, and I was doing other work, things that wouldn't be done during the school year. But the classrooms were built and put around. I mean, it's no different than, you have something prominently displayed in a department store or a grocery store. And why do people do that? Why do they put these prominent displays front and center? Well, because of the fact they want people to see it. They want people to look at it and possibly pick it up and buy it. That's what they do. It's a psychology of human nature. It's a study of human nature in terms of that psychology. Why do you think they have end caps of small things like candy and breath mints and other little things in the end caps right before you walk out the store? It's there because science and studies have shown that people will go and they'll grab small items like that as last-minute purchases before they take off out of the store. And it's, candy and mints and gum and things like that somebody normally doesn't think about until they're at the stand. They're waiting to check out, and they're bombarded by all of this. It's all scientific. It's all part of it. Why do you think they put the books prominently displayed in these classrooms? Again, it's scientific. They don't just sit them on the shelf in the library in the back corner because that's not where people frequent. They put them front and center in the classroom and in the library because that's exactly what they are looking for it. Okay. And the whole thing here that she keeps talking about is, how do you know that they've been used in the classroom? Anyone who's had children, who has been engaged with their kids, when they come home from school, you ask them, hey, what did you learn today? Typically, the child will regurgitate something that they learned during the day that they might have found fascinating. How often did these parents actually get an answer that basically was saying, hey, we learned about, my Uncle Bobby's wedding or whatever it was, my Uncle Eddie's wedding. She's making it sound like these parents have absolutely no idea. That is one thing that I will have to admit, that COVID, I think, woke a lot of parents up to what was going on in the classrooms. Because I can tell you that even with my daughter, who was in high school, okay, my son who was graduating, my daughter who was in middle school, high school, they went and had all these online classes, and my wife and I got a big, huge glimpse as to what was going on in the classroom based on how those video classes were going on during COVID. And so even though you can say that COVID was a negative overall, because of course kids lost learning, and that's been proven, but it was a positive in the fact that I think a lot of people started opening up their eyes and going, wait a minute. See, rather than just trusting what the education system was providing to our children at the time, and has been for several decades now, the questions are no longer, hey, what are you learning in school? Because now we have it in the forefront of everybody's minds. And cases like this are really going to show. Now, that particular clip also didn't have her going off on the lawyer also, where the lawyer was, she was saying, well, if you don't like what's being taught, you can just go and, take them out of class. Go ahead. Just take them out of class. Yeah. So now we have a Supreme Court justice that's actually, advocating for school choice. That's advocating for homeschooling. Yeah. She did that. She basically was saying that if the parents don't want their child enrolled in a curriculum that teaches them about sexuality and transgenderism, the burden should be on the other people or the parents to homeschool. Yeah, and all those taxes that are paid, because pretty much every school system is funded by property taxes in the states, in most cases. All those taxes are going to be paid. They're just going to be voided. Yeah. Anyway, she is one of the worst. And I can tell you Sotomayor and Kagan not so much. Kagan actually seems to have at least part of a brain, misdirected as it is, but part of a brain. However, Jackson and Sotomayor are just probably the dumbest justices on the Supreme Court. I don't understand how, I would love to be a fly on the wall when these people are there. I understand. I have had, not necessarily now, but I have had coworkers who I have literally just avoided because of the fact that they are, I don't know, shall we say challenging at best in terms of being able to tolerate some of their positions and viewpoints, and just the sheer idiocy that, comes out of their mouths. But then you sit there and you look and you're just like, okay, and you try and avoid them. Well, I wonder if, given the nature that we've seen over the course of the last several years, I wonder at the Supreme Court if these justices are kind of in the same boat. This is probably one of the reasons why, Clarence Thomas doesn't hang out in the court very much. He's probably like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by idiots. Anyway. Yeah. So, there you go. I have no idea how she, yeah. I don't understand how she made it past everything. That should have been her answering, saying that, you know what, we, what is a woman? And her answer to that should have been just like the disqualifying factor right there. But of course, the Democrats are all like, oh, yeah, this is great. Woo! Yay! Anyway, yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to let you guys know, too, that there was a report out that Donald Trump's tariffs seem to have kicked in for several businesses to start thinking about manufacturing here in America. So even if we end up in sort of a trade war, tariff war, whatever you want to call it, with some places across the country, there are some benefits that are occurring. And this is part of the reason why the Democrats, honestly, are not harping on the tariffs quite as much. Well, it also, helps that Donald Trump seems to be changing his mind on the tariffs and constantly moving with the tariffs such that nobody can actually pin him down in terms of the Democrats. But just the fact of the matter that we've got manufacturing facilities and businesses, manufacturing businesses that are attempting and are saying publicly, hey, we're moving back to the U.S. or we're moving our operations into the U.S. in order to avoid these tariffs. Just the fact that they're doing that is a positive and a plus in the tariff situation and the tariff war. Well, in terms of the intelligence of people, again, we have another federal judge. This is another federal district judge who has now blocked Trump's directive to require proof of citizenship for voter registration. Yes, this in the Epic Times. And honestly, I was expecting this because, as Buddy points out on multiple occasions, whenever it comes to the constitutionality, the whole idea and the whole control, honestly, in the manner of how elections are being held does reside with the states. So I did anticipate this. But the question is not so much whether or not the manner in which the elections are being held, because also the Congress does share or have a share in the elections process. But anyway, the idea that you have to require a proof of citizenship has now been reportedly suspended. The Election Assistance Commission must stop taking action to require a passport or other proof of citizenship for voter registration, according to U.S. District Judge Colleen Collar Codedly. Now, the White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment on this. But again, this, alongside of some other things as well, this is all going to SCOTUS, and that's realistically where it sits, is to go to SCOTUS. But we'll just have to kind of see what's going to happen here with all of this. This next year's couple of years at least, is definitely going to be, shall we say, a litigious one. Speaking of litigious, you'll remember me talking about an article that came out with a New Mexico judge who resigned because he was essentially harboring an illegal alien, and ICE came by and picked him up. Well, apparently Buddy Weiser has just pointed out, and this is, I'm going to say breaking news, but apparently the FBI has now arrested that New Mexico judge and his wife for harboring illegal gang members. So that's at least a step in the right direction, for sure, as far as that goes. Let's see. Is there anything else on the docket here? At yeah, I don't really see anything else here, but I'm sure there'll be more for tomorrow. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It's free to sign up. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure you go to the top, search out the American Perspective channel. And once you find it, hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up and like buttons across all of my platforms, whether it's YouTube, X, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, tomorrow is Friday, so we're good. We're good. Tomorrow is Friday, so 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I tend to forget to mention that Saturday is an hour later. So anyway, so there we go. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for tomorrow. So we will see you tomorrow night. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and enjoy your Friday. And good night, everybody.